someone's excited. Okay.
Biological, but gender is a completely different thing.
No, gender is not disconnected from sex. So
it's not completely disconnected, but it's still a cultural thing. It's still from society.
Okay.
This is Ben Shapiro. Well, his name is Ben Shapiro. I'm just gonna call him Matilda's cousin. Because, as far as I'm concerned, that should be his only claim to fame, that he's the cousin of Mara Wilson, the young, child actress that portrayed Matilda in the, movie from 1990? I don't remember. Ben Shapiro is like the worst. He's basically made a career out of convincing bigger idiots than he is that he is a smart person. He just said that gender is not disconnected from sex. Yes, it is. They're not the same thing, you fucking idiot. This is accepted completely in academia. You're not a biologist or a psychiatrist. You are a lawyer. Maybe that's why it's easy for you to sell your bigotry to, idiots.
No, it is not in the mind, okay? You're not a man if you think you're a man. And I didn't say pretending, or if I did, I shouldn't have said pretending. Let me amend.
You said playing.
Okay, I said a boy who thinks he's a girl. That's the usual phraseology I use. Not playing. I usually say a boy who thinks he's a girl or a girl who thinks he's a boy, which is technically what we're talking about here. As far as the actual psychological...
Trans women are women.
issues at play. It used to be called gender dysphoria or gender identity disorder. Now they call it gender dysphoria. The idea that sex or gender are malleable is not true.
Psychologically speaking, you are full of shit, Matilda's cousin.
I'm not denying your humanity if you're a transgender person. I am saying that you are not the sex to which you claim to be. You're still a human being, and you're a human being with an issue that...
They're not talking about sex, they're talking about gender. They're not the same thing. Stop the conflation, you fucking idiot.
I wish you Godspeed in dealing with in whatever way you see fit. But if you are going to dictate to me that I'm supposed to pretend that men are women and women are men, no. My answer is no. I'm not going to modify basic biology because it threatens your subjective sense.
Oh my god, basic biology. I mean, that's a fucking meme. I mean, yeah. In terms of most basic biology, yeah. X is woman, XY is man, but that's the thing. Like, you know the meme from the text of Yu-Gi-Oh where Kaiba holds up one card, then Yugi holds up another card, and it's like, and Kaiba's like, ah! Okay, you're Kaiba holding up basic biology. I'm Yugi. It's time to duel. I'm Yugi, and the card I'm holding up is advanced biology. Now, I'm not a biologist, but my understanding of this is more nuanced than yours. I mean, there's no objective truth to gender. There are objective truths that we assign to gender, but it's not what you think it is, or it's not what you're portraying it as.
Of what you are.
Okay, but you're still saying these kids should not be accepted because they don't really fit in either place. They can't just
I'm saying that the Boy Scouts have a standard. You must be a biological boy to be a Boy Scout. You have to be a boy to be a Boy Scout.
Where's that written though?
In the name Boy Scout.
Not anymore. Now the Boy Scouts let in girls. Hooray! Fuck you!
this is a very because for all of human history, boy meant boy and girl meant girl. Boy did not mean girl.
Wrong. No, not all throughout human history. There have been societies that have had third genders. Even the idea of what a boy is and what a girl hasn't been consistent throughout all of human history. I mean, I was assigned male at birth. Now I have long hair. It's not typically thought of as a masculine characteristic. I typically do not wear a beard. The most masculine thing about me is probably my deep, booming, resonant voice. Something that you do not have, Matilda's cousin.
You sound like this. My name is Matilda's cousin, and I talk really fast, and I'm kind of quippy, so that people think that I'm clever, even though all I'm doing is just saying really insanely stupid bullshit.
Let's keep going.
And if I call you a moose, are you suddenly a moose? Okay, if I redefine our terms... No, yes, that's right. Men and women are a completely different thing. This is true. Have you ever met a man or a woman? They're completely different.
You have to say you're a cat. It's not...
Matilda's cousin has just thrown her argument. Like, no one's saying that you can identify as another species. That's just taking... I identify as the top hat that I'm currently wearing on my head, and now that I just took off because I don't want to wear it right now.
Gender. It's not saying you're...
Okay, why is that? I don't understand. Why? Okay, let me ask you this. I won't ask you how old... I will ask you how old you are, okay? Because you're young enough that it's probably not insulting to ask you. So...
I'm 22, so I'm probably young and naive, right?
No, why aren't you 60? Why aren't you 60? And why can't you identify as 60? What is the problem with you identifying as 60?
Because there's a lot of psychological and scientific evidence in favor of transgenderism, and there's none of that for transageism. That's just another fucking straw man. So fuck you, Matilda's cousin. You're an idiot.
You're right. Age is significantly less important than gender. You can't magically change your gender. You can't magically change your sex. You can't magically change your age.
You can still legally change.
You do not magically change your sex or your gender. It takes a lot of work and self-visualization and, unfortunately, quite a bit of money to take the medical steps to transition. And to just say that
It's just magic.
is damn insulting, Matilda's cousin. You don't know what you're talking about. Your opinion on this is less than rubbish.
You can't legally change your age, by the way.
Obviously, you can change your name, you can change your sex, you can change your identity.
Just because you can do things legally doesn't mean that they are correct biologically. You could do lots of things in the past that were incorrect biologically and correct legally. For a long period of time in the United States, sterilization of the mentally ill took place. That didn't make it okay. Skinner versus Oklahoma. Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes wrote the decision.
Right. I still don't understand how you...
I do have to give Matilda's cousin his due. I do agree with him that just because something is legally correct doesn't make it morally correct. Overall, I agree with the general sentiment of what he said there. Because they did the same thing in Nazi Germany. The Nazis also destroyed all the research that was done on trans people up at that point. That's something Matilda's cousin would probably have agreed with. So, fuck you, Ben Shapiro, for your totally disingenuous usage of the argument. And gender is a matter of identity. All the research backs this up. You saying that a trans woman is still a man is completely 110% incorrect.
It's not a matter of open-minded and accepting. I want them to get treatment that they see fit, but that's not involving me. The idea behind the transgender movement.
And a widely accepted treatment to gender dysphoria. Not every trans person has gender dysphoria. But anyway, the most widely accepted form of treatment for gender dysphoria is transitioning. There's no biological truth to gender. You're spreading bullshit as if it was gospel truth. You're just spreading misinformation.
As a civil rights movement is the idea that all of their problems would just go away if I would pretend that they were the sex to which they claim membership. That's nonsense. The transgender suicide rate is 40%. It is 40%. And according to the Anderson School at UCLA, it makes no difference. There's a study that came out last year. It makes no difference, virtually no difference, statistically speaking, as to whether people recognize you as a transgender.
Okay, that part is an outright lie. Like, all the studies show that transitioning, like, does... Oh, no. Well, yes, transitioning, but also... like support does greatly reduce the transgender suicide rate. What Matilda's cousin just said about the Anderson School trans study, that doesn't exist. Like, the Anderson School is a business school, right? And anyway, there's no such thing as the Anderson School trend study. He's pulling it out of his ass, or he's just misremembering what he's thinking. What he just said, like, doesn't exist, and all the studies that do exist show that transgender people getting support from their family and society and their friends, like, actually transitioning reduces the rate of suicide. So Matilda's cousin, you're lying.
Person or not, which suggests there's a very high comorbidity between transgenderism, whatever that mental state may be, and suicidality. That has nothing to do with how society treats you.
Do you think it could be because of their bullied?
No, I don't think that. I do not think that the discrepancy. First of all, I'm against bullying of any sort. Okay, the idea that somebody would beat somebody up is terrible. Okay, as somebody who's viciously bullied in high school, I'm not a fan of bullying. But the idea that the normal.
I call bullshit on that. Matilda's cousin has he used to be bullied, and now that he's the conservative right-wing god of debate or whatever the fuck. Now he's the one doing the bullying, so that's another completely disingenuous bit of rhetoric from Matilda's cousin. Fuck you.
Suicide rate across the United States is 4%. The suicide rate in the transgender community is 40%. The idea that 36% more transgender people are committing suicide because people are mean to them is ridiculous. It's not true, and it's not backed by any science that anyone can cite.
To say that it's because people are mean to them is a huge oversimplification. Like misgendering is seen as a form of harassment. You have people getting fired for being trans. You have people being denied health insurance for being trans. Like Donald Trump's been steadily subtracting transgender protections and rights, or transgender people experience higher rates of murder, I think. And your thing about like turns people about there's no evidence that is saying that like harassment and hatred and violence and all that other stuff contributes to the transgender suicide rate is bullshit. You are fucking lying.
It is pure conjecture. In fact, it's not even true that bullying causes suicide, according to a lot of studies. For example, in the black community, where the idea is supposedly that America is a racist society, blacks are bullied a lot. Okay, in the black community has significantly lower suicide rates than in the white community. In fact, in third world countries, the suicide rate is significantly lower than in first world countries. Suicide actually seems to be a privilege of the upper classes, if you actually look at it from a financial perspective. So the idea that suicidality is directly a result...
I don't care about any of this.
...of people like me saying, no, men are not women and women are not men, it's not true. It's also...
So you think it doesn't impact their identity at all, or their depression, or how they feel about themselves?
I think the idea that you're going to sacrifice the entire society's proper definition of sex because you think that there is in legal terms...
The definitions of these words are not intrinsic truths. They are not objective truths. I mean, what the fuck is a man? What the fuck is a woman? We made it up. We made it up, Matilda's cousin. I mean, there's no objective truth to man or woman or male or female. There are only truths that we attributed to those terms. To steal a quote from Vosh, we did not dig up gender in the Saharan desert.
Somebody with an eggshell skull, meaning that somebody who has a pre-existing condition that makes them more susceptible to criticism, that is not a way to run a society. You can't sacrifice truth because some people are going to actually suffer because of the truth. Plus, there's no evidence whatsoever that the suicide rate would go down in the transgender community in any marked way if people just started pretending that men were women and women were men.
Matilda's cousin doesn't like nuance. He prefers things to be simple and stupid, like him. He wants a world where men are like these tall, broad, hairy people. He wants a world where women are these delicate, voluptuous things that just like stay at home and pump out babies. That's not the world we live in, Matilda's cousin.
Experiment now. We'll find out whether it works. So far, no evidence.
Have you talked to a group of trans people at all instead of just a group of like white people?
I'm more than happy to talk to a group of any people who will have me, but usually they protest me.
Okay, last question.
If he was coming to my school, I wouldn't be protesting him on the grounds that he's a conservative pundit. I'd be protesting him on the grounds that he's just a fucking moron.
About your Planned Parenthood thing. So why do you think it's not about controlling women's bodies and just about the separate life? Like, after the baby is born, how come when people don't care about them? They don't care where they end up in foster care, they don't care about the mother being poor? Like,
Okay, I do care about the mother being poor. I do care about foster care.
okay, but why don't you advocate for that, though? Because
For what?
Planned Parenthood is supposed to prevent abortions.
Because Planned Parenthood doesn't prevent abortions. They
do,
perform
though.
hundreds of thousands of abortions.
Wait, is this the abortion argument part of the video? Okay, looks like it is. I'm not gonna respond to this part of the video. I've already done a pro-abortion response video to Hunter Avalon. Hunter Avalon does he's a lot better at this than Matilda's cousin is. So just watch. So if you want to know my stances on abortion, just watch that video. I'm not gonna respond to Ben Shapiro's anti-abortion bullshit. It's just it's a waste of my time. Ben Shapiro is an idiot. He doesn't make any intelligent arguments. He misrepresents data. Just I have no idea why people like him.